Friday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, only on AFN. XFL2K.com presents AFN Live with Kevin Drake.
They've brought it back, and they've actually done really good, even though their record is 2-2.
Michael Washington Weeks.
I think Los Angeles might be one of those, hotbed, quote-unquote, coaches. I think you'll see a veteran coach in St. Louis to try to bring in the crowd.
Coach Lynn Hart Jr.
Feel each other out, so to speak, and stick with the run game and find plays that work.
John Turner.
He was also Peyton Manning's offensive coordinator and quarterback coach over there in Indianapolis. And that Peyton Manning, he was pretty good too, I hear.
Welcome, everybody, to another Sunday night filled with your entertainment, AFN Live. As always, I'm your lead, Kevin, here with Michael Washington Weeks.
How we doing?
RJ Ciancio.
Hello, guys.
And as always, John's being a White Walker. He's watching Game of Thrones, so he'll be here later, hopefully. But we got some great news to talk about today. We also later on will actually have a special guest, so don't miss out on that. But first, we're going to talk about the XFL and the fact that we're going to get the naming of the head coach and GM for the Los Angeles team. Michael?
Yeah, after a quiet week during the draft week, which I suspected that we would have heard something last week. Other than a few of coordinators being hired, they announced on Friday that they will be announcing the head coach GM to the Los Angeles franchise in the XFL for 2020. Speculation is, or at least the popular name around the interwebs, is Jim Mora Jr., a former UCLA head coach. Not sure how I feel necessarily about the hiring, if that's the case, but it doesn't surprise me that his name is being circulated.
I mean, fair enough. The Los Angeles team looks like it's going to be a lot different than what we're going to expect, especially with the president having a more media-driven background than anything, more marketing and stuff. So the head coaching position, I feel like it's going to shock a lot of people, whether it's someone we know or if it's someone completely out of left field,
Yeah, I want to clarify that I'm not sure how I feel about it, only because of the fact that I don't know how well Jim Mora Jr. is going to be received in the Los Angeles area. I mean, he does have ties there, so, there's always the benefits of that. But I'm talking about as far as the fans are concerned, because make no mistake about it, the Los Angeles franchise is going to be one of the cornerstones of the XFL. It's going to be them, New York, and Houston, I believe, will probably be their top three, cornerstones as far as the league is concerned. So to take a chance on a guy like Jim Mora Jr., who I'm very vague on it, but I don't really remember him having a really well-received fan base at UCLA towards the end of his run there. But, with their team president out there being, pretty well known inside the media world, it doesn't surprise me that they might go after a guy that has kind of a power name like a Jim Mora Jr.
True, and looking at the Los Angeles side of it, and even just California in general for the XFL, also something that came out earlier this week was that Vince McMahon and Oliver Luck have actually had ties with major sports organizations like the San Francisco 49ers, having deals with them to have partnerships. What's that all about?
That's a good question because, the XFL does not want to be a D League. We know that much. It's Vince McMahon. He's not going to play backseat to anybody. What this could mean, I'm thinking maybe cross-promotion, perhaps. I'm thinking on the marketing side because it's not going to be a partnership. It's way too early for that, at least for, a major partnership. I could see maybe a minor cross-promotion. I don't know. Just don't make – if it's going to be a promotion, just don't bring another blimp into the picture.
Hey, Kevin, could you repeat that one more time for me? I kind of lost you there for a second. Could you repeat that one more time for me, please?
Yeah, so earlier this week, I came across something that was actually posted multiple different days, but Vince McMahon and Oliver Luck in the XFL itself have actually put themselves intertwined with major sports organizations, including the San Francisco 49ers. So we're trying to see how that could be a big thing for the XFL and why they're doing it.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought you were talking about, but I just wanted to clarify. Honestly, I think that it's I think that this is kind of like a position. It's a marketing position. It's a power play by the XFL to set themselves up. Because, I mean, make no mistake about it. Vince McMahon is a super intelligent businessman. He's smart. He knows the inner workings inside and out of business, and not just professional wrestling. I mean, he's got a brilliant mind across the board. You know, the original XFL. You know, his ideas might have been a little considered outlandish or outrageous, but he was definitely on the right track with something and actually had something building with them. I just think that it just became a little too much for what people wanted at that particular moment in time. And by hiring Oliver Luck this time through, he's doing a good job of getting the football side of things now down. So he surrounded himself with good people. So to be able to do this intertwining of promotions with Major League Sports, including the San Francisco 49ers, I don't necessarily see a partnership per se, but I could see a working relationship of sorts to where it's kind of like, the XFL is able to get ins on certain teams to be able to look at certain prospects.
I mean, fair. I just thought it was kind of interesting that it was brought out that they are actually talking to these organizations and trying to come up with something.
Yeah, I mean, this shows that Vince is not taking the mentality he had in 2001, which is the NFL is a no-fun league. You know, that hurt him. I'm glad he's not doing that again.
Yeah, I mean, honestly it's it's not it's not wrong. I think overall for the XFL, if they want to succeed, I think that they have to realize that they can't go into a full-fledged, attack on the NFL. I don't think they can necessarily straight up say we're a competition, and I think that's where Oliver Luck was, smart in saying that they want to be a complementary league to the NFL. Not necessarily a feeder league and not necessarily a developmental league, but they want to be a complementary league to the NFL, because to try to say I'm going to take on the NFL as an XFL second launch, it would be pretty much a writing in the stone that this would not get off the ground really before it got a chance to gain momentum, which would be unfortunate because I think that they have it all the right pieces in place this time. So they're being smart about it, which is a lot different than what they did when they launched in 2001.
I
agree.
The one thing that we've all noticed, and that's what's been consistent throughout these last few months with the XFL, is that they're doing this in a very timely manner. They're doing it differently than they ever thought possible with 2000 XFL, and they've gone through the direct channels, and they've brought in great partners with their organizations, especially with it being a marketing person with Los Angeles, and then having someone in DC that is actually from the area, and then down in Tampa Bay, forget his name.
Mark Trestman.
Yeah, Mark Trestman. Like, all these figures, they're not necessarily like what the NFL looks at, but the XFL is just like, they work in their communities. They work in the atmospheres that these teams are going to be a part of. And I think that's the good thing about the XFL, is that we haven't seen any on-field action yet, but we're getting like glimpses of it with like the spring league, because they have that partnership and they're doing their rules down there and kind of showing them off and being like, will this work? Will this not work? Along with the XFL being like, hey, we might not be playing right now, but we're showing you that we know what we're doing, and we're putting these pieces together to make a great and successful like organization,
Yeah, and I think that's where Oliver Luck comes into play, and I'll beat this, horse, even if it's already dead enough, that Oliver Luck is probably one of the smartest hires Vince McMahon will ever do as far as the XFL is concerned. Him being the commissioner of that league is going to be the reason that they succeed on, more levels than one. I just really I'm really excited to see what other kind of businesses and partnerships that the XFL is going to put together, because even though the coaches are going to be the ones that are going to draw the names, it's going to be these team presidents that are going to be working inside their communities that's going to really drive how successful these franchises are, especially where they're doing the local ties, because every single hire has a storied history inside the city that they're with, or some kind of connection. So, even Jonathan Hayes has connections with the XFL Dallas head coach and Bob Stoops. So there's that connection as well inside the league. So you're going to see these coaches and GMs be, the face of their franchise as far as until the players get there. But it's going to be the team presidents that are working behind the scenes that's going to really drive the success of this. And I think that Oliver Luck's put a lot of people in place to get that success that they need.
I just find it really interesting that we haven't heard anything about Houston yet, that we haven't really gotten any information about that team in general. We have Dallas, we have Los Angeles, we have New York, we have DC, we have Tampa Bay, and we have St. Louis now, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Houston's the only one that we haven't. Now, remind you, Jonathan Hayes' announcement for the St. Louis came 2 days after the Kevin Gilbride hiring in New York. So there's a possibility that we could see something very similar. Mike Mitchell just tweeted that the league office of the XFL 2020 has confirmed that a press conference to announce the head coach GM of the Los Angeles will be taking place Tuesday at 11:30 Pacific at LA Live. I don't know if that's PM or not.
That would be PM probably.
My guess would be PM, because that would be 11:30 Pacific. That's probably AM, because that would put it at that would put it at 2:30 PM on the East Coast. So that's right in the area of what they've been doing. I think the latest announcement that they've had is Bob Stoops at 4 PM on for the Dallas franchise. So it's official. Tuesday will be the press conference. It looks like 2:30 PM Eastern, 11:30 AM Pacific for Tuesday.
I just find it really interesting that we have all these other teams, but Houston's the one that we don't know anything about.
Why are you so interested why are you so surprised by that? I'm just curious.
Well, because, New York, that's a hot spot for the XFL and for sports teams in general, because it's New York. Los Angeles the same way, but we got those two relatively early. St. Louis with the Rams and everything, and now they have a professional team again. They're going to be on the hype. Dallas is Dallas. Tampa Bay is Tampa Bay. You have multiple teams in those areas. But Houston, we have the Texans, we have the Rockets and the Astros and the Dynamo, and probably in the indoor arena league teams. But we look at the Texans, they haven't won a championship yet. So the city of Houston, they're looking at, we get another professional team in here that's on the same caliber and win a championship, it's going to be different. There's going to be a different atmosphere. So I'm looking at these high priority places in Los Angeles and New York that are really driven by media and the social interaction and all this. We have those teams. We have those general managers and now head coaches. But in Houston, I just find it interesting that we have everything in the process for all these other teams, but Houston's just that one anomaly that hasn't been announced at all.
I think the last four teams being announced, though, are going to be the cornerstones and the foundation of this league.
I agree.
I mean, New York, St. Louis, Houston, and Los Angeles. I mean, what's Houston? Houston's the third largest market in the NFL.
Yeah.
If I'm correct, I believe they're the third largest market as far as the dynamics of the of what the city brings and does for the league. I think they're the third largest market. So I'm not really surprised that they're saving Houston for last. I thought they were going to do St. Louis for last personally, just because it is the one city that doesn't have an NFL team. But I
could see that.
Yeah, I think any order of these last four are fine though, because New York, St. Louis, Houston, and Los Angeles, I firmly believe when they announced those 8 cities, those were the 4 cities that I picked out that would be the staple and the foundation of this league. I don't think they want to do Dallas as one of the foundations, because the Cowboys are pretty much a staple with the NFL, as much as I hate saying that. So I don't think they want to directly compete with that. So I think they're going to push for Houston to kind of be their Texas version of their XFL version of Dallas, even though they have a Dallas franchise. If that makes any sense.
Actually, now that I think about it. Houston doesn't have a championship in football. Dallas
They do
does.
not.
Los Angeles. Dallas has 5 with the Cowboys.
Ew.
In Los Angeles, even though they didn't really have a team that got a championship, the 49ers have a championship. So you have that. The Rams, the greatest show on turf. Tampa Bay, they have a championship. New York, they have a championship. And then DC, they have a championship, but Houston doesn't.
I mean, to be fair, they went through that hiatus of not having a team, and they got, the Texans, and for the longest time, let's just say they were what came out of a Texans' butt.
Really?
Well, I can't say what I wanted to say, okay?
Yeah, I know. But I understand what you're saying and everything because of the things we have, but it's one of those things that Houston's becoming a cornerstone with players, with teams. Like, the owner of the Rockets wants to bring an expansion NHL team, but it didn't get approved. Or I think it was Seattle, got the expansion team. So Houston's a market that everyone wants to be a part of. So if they save it for last and something big comes out of it, I wouldn't be surprised. Alrighty. Looks like we have our special guest for tonight, Jeremiah Bison.
How's it going, man?
How you doing, Jeremiah? This is Michael Washington Weeks.
How's it going, man? Thanks for having me.
We're very, very, very lucky to have you, and we're thrilled to have you on the show tonight. And I'm glad that you were able to join us.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
So I just want to, I stumbled across your story through John, who you met and have spoke to, and he's quite the character. I'm sure that conversation was. I would like to have been a fly on the wall on that one, but
wouldn't we all?
Right.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, man. Talking to him, man. I already enjoyed it.
Listen, don't give him too much praise. He did just for Game of Thrones, so like. For a little shit.
He's not here. He's not here right now.
Yeah, he's not. This is why I'm going to run the point on this, Jeremiah, if you don't mind, of course.
Okay.
I just, reading your story, I got to say, I'm ecstatic that you were able to overcome a lot of the hardships that you went through as a kid growing up, and everything that you face as far as adversity is concerned. And I'm glad you're here trying to pursue your dream, to play in the NFL. Because I mean, let's face it, everybody on this call probably at one point in time had a dream to play in the NFL, man.
Absolutely.
Man, it's a blessing, man.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that you're doing well. I'm looking forward to see what you can bring to the Chargers, this year too in the NFL. But I actually wanted to start off with a little bit of. I don't want to go too far into your history. I just want to more or less talk about your journey through the football world, if that's cool with you, and talk about the differences between your arena experience compared to the NFL style of tryouts and what you went through with the NFL. Like how was the transition period for that?
It was pretty crazy. When I got to then arena, because I actually been talking to the coach for 3 years, and when I seen him, I was like, oh man, I gotta do everything perfect, So when coming to arena, I was more okay in the NFL, and now when I have the NFL workouts, like
yeah, no doubt. Like yeah, what was that call like when you got that call to try out for the Cleveland Browns, man? What kind of emotions were going through you with that?
It was pretty good, man. It was a great experience. I was a little bit more nervous at this one. At that one, I really didn't know what to expect. When I got there, all we did was run 40-yard dashes.
That was your first tryout, right, Jeremiah?
Yeah. I had 2 meetings with the Rams. I met with the Rams twice. Met with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers twice. You and the Chargers actually gave me a workout. And the Browns. The Browns was the ones that actually gave me a workout too. So it was the Browns, and it was Alonzo Highsmith from the Cleveland Browns, and then it was his son, AJ Highsmith from the 49ers.
Okay.
So they both was running it.
Now,
Yeah.
was it through AJ Highsmith that you met Mike Singletary? Is that how that relationship sparked?
Nah, Mike Singletary actually. You said Mike Singletary? You said Mike Singletary?
Yeah. I saw that you had a little bit of a relationship with Mike Singletary.
Oh,
so
not Mike Singletary. I reached out to him myself, and I was, I network a lot. I do a lot of networking and a lot of community, a lot of different community stuff. So I emailed him, and I was trying to get to him any type of way I could, after arena season. And I was on the San Diego Fleet short list too, but they didn't end up calling me. But Mike Singletary actually called me, and he was like, man, he asked me tell me about yourself. So I started telling him about myself, and he was like, dang. He's like, it's like you ready to play some football? I was like, yeah. He's like, well, I want to see you out here on Monday. The league ended up folding and stuff, so that didn't go too well. And this is actually 2 weeks before my workout with the Chargers.
Oh, sweet. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's pretty nice, man. That's awesome. And you've had a pretty good good relationship with Anthony Lynn, the head coach out there in LA.
Oh yeah. We've been in a relationship for 3 years. He keeps it real with me. He keeps it pretty honest with me. He hasn't. He kept his word so far. So I kept my word so far. So we're pretty cool. We're pretty level-headed, both of us.
Well, that's awesome, man. Like I said,
Yeah.
I'm happy for you, man, because I can't relate, by any means to all what you've been through. I just kind of wanted to get an idea of your feeling, I'm sure this has been an emotional roller coaster that you probably haven't, at least the first time.
Like you said, it's everybody's dream. It's everybody's dream.
Yep.
So when I got there, I was happy. I went around the locker room. Walked around the facility and did all that stuff, took pictures and everything like that, and went to the weight room and and all that. So I was just everybody. Coach Anthony Lynn hit me up after a day before the draft and told me I made the linebackers list. So he told me to stay in shape and did wait on a call. So that was pretty good, man. He told me I made the linebackers list. So so hopefully I'll be in there, man. Hopefully I'll be in there like around maybe I said, I don't know, man. I ain't gonna lie, I don't want to say too much, but I'll be.
Well, yeah, for sure, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Do you know when you report yet?
Nah, man. It can happen right now. They call me right now, like, hey, we want you here. Because that's how it happened the other day. I mean, when I, on my last workout. So they just called me and they was like, here's the address. You need to be here. We'll bring this, and you got everything else. So.
Well, hopefully you get that call soon, Jeremiah. That's for sure. That'd be awesome, man. And be able to watch a little preseason, to watch you out there in action. Hopefully, man, that'd be cool.
Yeah, man. Like I was talking to them there. They were saying basically like I'm gonna have to be able to play special teams. I'm really big on special teams. R5 and L5. So that's gonna work out real well for me. And also I'm a very versatile player. I can play outside linebacker, middle linebacker, D-line, and special teams.
Oh yeah, definitely. Versatility is the way to go, man.
I'm actually good at all the positions too. So yeah, I'm actually good at it. So I went to arena. I played the whole front five. I played the jack linebacker, Mac linebacker, and I dominated all my positions.
I was gonna say you got some defensive recognition down there, right? Didn't you?
Yeah, I got first team all league. I led the whole league in tackles. Nobody had more tackles than me in that league.
Yep, I remember reading about that, and that's a pretty fantastic achievement in its own right there, man. So I do want to ask, man. If this doesn't, unfortunately, if this wasn't to be something that would come to fruition,
every special teams, I was on kick. Yeah.
Is this going to be? The NFL is obviously the ultimate goal, but if you don't catch on with the Chargers, do you have any plans of possibly looking at the XFL as a possible place for employment?
Oh man, I'm not never idle. You know, I'm never believe in being idle. You know, I'm still talking to other teams, filming everything. Other teams looking at me. You know, I also have interest in the Minnesota Vikings too. So I've been talking to George Edwards too, so the defensive coordinator for there.
Oh, nice.
I was supposed to be, you know, I could have went to their local day too, but I was kind of focused on the Chargers, so that's kind of what happened right there. And you know, I'm still in contact with them too. So the BC Lions too are looking at me too right now from CFL, and you know, I'm just, you know, but I'm pretty kind of trying to focus on the Chargers though. But I, you know, if whoever offers me first, man, that's what I'm gonna go with. So, but I don't mind going to the CFL. I don't mind going to the CFL or anything like that either. You know, so it's it's all a blessing. You know, play at the highest level.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. I just I like hearing journeys like this, man, and hearing your story, and
It's
you know,
just a grind, man, and it's just consistent. You just stay consistent. Everything ain't gonna go your way at the same time you want it to go, you know. But you never know with the next. You might be there one day, next day you know somewhere else. So that's just how it kind of works, man.
well, I mean, I could tell you that on behalf of AFNN, man, we wish you the best of luck in whatever it is that you choose, and you know, wherever it is that you end up and land. You know, judging from everything that I've read about you and stuff, you know, it seems like you're gonna end up in a, you know, you're gonna land somewhere, and a team is gonna get a hell of a player, man. That's for sure.
Yeah, man. I've been to the Rams facility, passed out my film on DVDs. Been to the Arizona Cardinals facility, passed out my film on DVDs. Mailed to Jacksonville Jaguars my film through FedEx. FedEx I think it was. I just been trying to get in. Can't email in every social media platform. Link bio. Film bio. And just try to come promote the as professional as I can come. Because it is a business. You gotta come professional. So, you just gotta stay at it and stay professional, man. And and you'll get it. It might not happen when you want it to happen, but it'll happen though. If you stay at it and never give up, it's gonna happen, guaranteed. So that's kind of what I did. That's how I got where I'm at right now. I know people that went Division I, didn't even get what I got, and how far I got. So it's man, I know guys that fresh out of college right now. My agent called me like, "Hey, yeah, man, he waited too long for me to sign with me, man. Now he ain't got no teams that, you know what I mean? No teams, So I know some stories like that. I know multiple stories like that, So, it's just all about how you move your next move. It's like a chess game too. So you gotta move right too.
Yeah, no doubt, man. That's that's awesome that you're at this point and that you've gotten everything just through hard work and perseverance. And I can't begin to tell you the amount of respect that I have for you on that level, just because you're putting the grind in, doing all the things that are right. And like I said, man, when you stick, because I know you'll stick somewhere, a team is going to get a hell of a player for you. For sure.
I'm actually talking to a coach from the XFL too. He's not sure if he's going to be the coach of Louisville or another team too. He might be a coach of, I forgot the name, but and the Los Angeles team too. So, I'm real cool with him. I'm real close with him. We got a good relationship. So he said he want me on his team. So, we're gonna see how that goes. Just taking it one step at a time. Man. I got drafted to Major League Football too. Every big thing that came out, man, I made it to it. Just, I swear. In Major League Football, just flooding film, networking, just bugging people, staying on people, getting radio interviews, just bugging people, man. And, and I ended up getting drafted there, that is.
Well, hey, man, the XFL, man, that must be a nice little window for you, nice little opportunity that rose. I know that.
I would have.
Yeah, with the spring leagues popping up, man, outside of just the Arena Football League, but leagues that end up to kind of mimic a little bit more what the NFL does. That must be a opportunity for you that you really must like and are looking forward to in case that's where your career trajectory ends up going.
Yeah, man, I think the XFL will be pretty tight too, man. I think they're gonna let us hit a little bit more you know, if I do end up going there, you know, I think I like the rules to it too. You know, it's a little bit a lot of action, you know, and putting on. Hello.
Yep. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that you got everything in that you need to get in right there, man. So let me ask you a question, Jeremiah. If there is one player in the league right now at the NFL level that you'd want to play alongside, which player would that be?
Well, I want to be a Charger. That's my first thing I want to be. Yeah, I want to play. I want to play for Coach Anthony Lynn. That's what I want. That's what I want to do because you know he gave me a real legitimate shot, brought me into the facility. You know, so that's where I like to be. But you know, anybody off me, I'm gonna take it. You know.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Fair enough.
So,
I like the answer. I like that answer.
Yeah, so but my favorite team growing up was the Carolina Panthers. You know, I like Luke Kuechly. I watched a lot of his film. Thomas Davis, I've been watching his film before he went to the Chargers. So you know, that's double love. You know.
Thomas Davis is one of my favorite players of all time, man. The ACL injuries coming back from the way that he played, man. I loved it. I loved the way he plays.
He plays a lot like me too. Like always running to the ball. Like no matter if it's 40 yards behind you, you're still chasing the ball down. And no matter what direction the ball's at, you're chasing off speed. You know, so I have the traits too. We have a lot of we both look kind of the same on film though outside. You know. And inside, really, if he played inside, he'll look just like, you know, same thing, side to side, back, front to back. You know, no matter where the ball at, I'm going.
Yeah, those are the best linebackers in the league, man. They're the ones that just hunt that ball down, bro. So that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
I do.
Well, Kevin or RJ, do you guys have any questions for our guest tonight before we wrap this up?
I mean, if you have any advice for people who are going through adversity right now, whether football or not, you know, what would that be?
Never give up and use that hurt and that pain and you know, that adversity to make your next step in life. You know, that's what I did. I don't really use it as, you know, to feel sorry for myself or because I think that's like a weakness, you know, and that's gonna hold you back. So I just believe in like using that energy and that power for the right thing and taking life and looking at it at a different angle, you know, and use it at whatever you're good at, man, and you know whatever makes you feel good, you know, just use it for good, you know, because people can use it for negative. I could have used my past and everything for negative, and did a lot of people I grew up with are dead or in jail. You know, I could have, you know, did the same thing they did, you know, and feel sorry for myself or whatever, you know, or didn't know any better, didn't want to get smarter, you know, or anything, you know, so. It's all about persevering and being persistent at what you want to do and what you want to be in life. You know, never giving up. You can't never give up, you know, because even though you seem so far, you could be so close.
I love it, Jeremiah. I love that. That's a great attitude to have, and that's the reason why I believe that, you know, you'll succeed and you have fans here at AFNN, man. That's for sure. We appreciate you coming on. If we don't have any other questions from anybody on, Kevin, RJ, any other questions?
Then we're good.
Yeah, we'll let you get going about the rest of your day there, Jeremiah, and thank you for coming on the show, man. It was a pleasure having you, and good luck, man.
Sir, man. Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely.
Me, man. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Well, that was Jeremiah Spicer, and that was a little bit about his journey as he gets ready to hopefully try out for the Los Angeles Chargers and make that squad. And we appreciate Jeremiah coming on the show and love hearing his story and a little bit about how, you know, how he's persevered through some tough times. So thank you again, Jeremiah, and good luck, my man.
Now, I want to bring up one thing that stuck out in that interview. He said that he's been having conversations with the head coach that might be the head coach of like the Los Angeles team and other teams for the XFL. Please tell me everyone else caught that.
Oh yeah, I absolutely caught that. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to pry on it because I'm sure that he probably has some kind of confidentiality thing that he can't release, and I didn't want him to slip up accidentally on the show, but I definitely caught that, man. And honestly, it doesn't surprise me that the XFL's already reaching out to players in that area, especially when you look at the Los Angeles team, and him being from the California area. And with the fact that he's got a bunch of tape out there, it sounds like he's been hustling and grinding to get his name out there. That doesn't surprise me one bit. That's actually fantastic.
I mean, yes, and that story was great. I mean, him persevering and having the fact that he led that league with tackles that no one had more than him. That's outstanding. The fact that he's throwing his tape around on CDs and connecting left, right, and sideways with teams like the Vikings, the Chargers, the Browns, and everything. Even with the CFL team he mentioned that he's had talks with, and then the arena leagues and everything, and also the XFL. He's pushing, he's trying, and I hope the world for him, and I hope that he gets his opportunity and his chance.
The other thing that stuck out to me in that interview is the fact that he said he's talking to George Edwards, the defensive coordinator of the Vikings. He's not talking to the assistant of the defensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings. He's actually talking to George Edwards. And I think that that's big because that means that he's actually getting his name circulating amongst coordinators and coaches to the point of on a recognizable scale to be able to build those personal relationships with. And I hope him and Anthony Lynn, the Chargers head coach, continue to build that relationship. And I hope he gets that call, sooner rather than later to go report to camp because their camp opens up soon. And I'm excited to see hopefully him out there next to Thomas Davis, who it sounds like he admires and respects and, kind of builds a game around a little bit. And I would love to see those two out there in a preseason game going after, those running backs and receivers.
Same, honestly. That's probably one of the bigger things that I noticed is that Thomas Davis is one of the premier linebackers in this league. And the fact that he said that he would want to play alongside him, honestly, if he works hard enough, he can do it. And I think Thomas would honestly take him under his wing and help him out with whatever he needs.
No better mentor than Thomas Davis, I would imagine. Not up there
for sure.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to point out that he said he was networking himself a lot of the time. I mean, that's something I feel like players at the lower levels where they don't have agents need to do. And this is a great example of why. Take your shot. Reach out to people. You don't know who's going to respond. I mean, for Pete's sake, I've had conversations with some pretty high up people. I'm friends with Facebook with some people who used to run a football league. I mean, I'm guys, owners of teams, the whole 9 yards. I mean, if I didn't network myself, I wouldn't be on the radio show right now. I mean, the worst thing someone can do when you're networking is say no. So I really want to emphasize how important that is because if you just put yourself out there, there are hundreds of thousands of people who are going to be on these sites. If the right one scrolls across you, you're in business. But that's only if you present yourself in a professional manner. Because let me tell you, I see a lot, especially in this indoor football stuff, you see a lot of people who don't take it quite seriously. And all of a sudden, when they start, cursing on their social media feed, people are going to see that, and they're not going to watch you because you're not professional. So stay professional and stay marketing yourself. It's very important to do that.
I think Jeremiah's story, man, is just goes to show you about how the power of social networking nowadays and how much it can really do for you in a career. You just get out there and like you said, present yourself in a manner, do the things you're supposed to do, cross your T's, dot your I's, and you can get those doors start opening for you, and you get those opportunities and those chances. I mean, I can't imagine actually getting a phone call from Mike Singletary saying, "Hey, I want you to report to me on Monday." I can't imagine what was going through him at that time, especially being out of football, out of the Arena League at the time because the Arena Leagues hadn't started yet, and being out of, football in general at that point in time to finally get that phone call, and then obviously it's, networking with Anthony Lynn, man, that must be a great feeling for him. And, yeah, man, that's just social networking, man. That there's power behind that. if you do it right.
Definitely.
So, RJ, let's shift gears here a little bit, my man. I just want to some
Yeah.
big news out of the Arena Football League world, the Indoor Football League world this week, man. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, first we need to start with the smaller news and then get to the big thing. First of all, in the CIF, the Texas Revolution Amarillo Venom game got postponed. There may be more coming through that. We're keeping an eye on that. That's not the big story. The big story, the Arena Football League has struck a deal with ESPN. This is not unprecedented for the league. They've made big deals with big providers before. They were on ESPN3 before. They were also partners with the NFL Network. But they haven't looked this strong really since around 2010 when it was Arena Football 1, as they were known. And for what this means is you're going to be able to stream the games on ESPN+. So if you get the application, you can watch the games on your TV. They will be streaming the Arena Bowl, I believe, on ESPN 2 or 3. I mean, this is big for the sport as a whole because now they are the only league with nationwide syndication.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic for the Arena Football League because they were actually at a pinnacle. You know, they were at an absolute high, you know, before 2009 for a couple of years there where, I mean, I remember up here people just talking about the Arena Football League in general. So for them to be able to get an opportunity and chance, you know, this is what, this marks the 10-year anniversary of when they shut down for the year. It was 2009 that they shut down for that year, RJ?
That's correct.
So it's 10 years later, and they've slowly rebuilt and stayed quiet under the radar kind of situation. They only have 6 teams, you know, so it's not like that they're throwing out 40 teams or whatever. And they're, you know, getting themselves in position to get their name out there, to get their brand out there, you know, 10 years later, kind of like saying, hey, we're not the same. It's not the same as it was, you know, 10 years ago. We've made some changes and we've put out a product that we're proud of, and now they can really showcase that to the world, especially through ESPN.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, I gotta say, the AFL is doing it right. They're going quality over quantity. I cannot tell you how many leagues have popped up and folded because they went the other way around, threw everything against the wall and nothing stuck. I mean, anybody remember American Indoor Football from a few years back? That is a league notorious for that method. Same with Southern Indoor Football League, the National Indoor Football League. The list goes on of these leagues that threw everything they had against the wall, nothing stuck, and it bit them. And the AFL realized, you know, geez, we don't need to rapidly expand like crazy like we used to. Let's just do it slowly, methodically. And it's paying off for them, just having a core of owners who know what they're doing, who have the money, and are really behind the product. Because without this core of owners, the AFL would be dead.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I actually was surprised that they were still in existence, honestly, up until a couple of years ago, because they've been so quiet and have, you know, produced and, you know, put out a product that apparently
quiet? Wait, hold up. You saying the quiet? Listen, I think there's something I gotta explain to you guys about Arena Football. The word quiet does not apply in this industry. If something is quiet, like National Gridiron League was, make sure it's on your radar. They may be quiet by their standards, but I can assure you there's no such thing as quiet in this industry. You got some of the biggest personalities in sports in this.
Oh, yeah, no. When I say quiet, I mean as far as along the lines of, like, putting out a product that not necessarily everybody on the national level necessarily knows.
Oh, I thought you meant in general. It's going to say the AFL.
No. I meant when I say quiet, I mean, like, you know, like kind of like what the AAF did. You know, the AAF was before everything really came to light. You know, they quietly struck deals behind the scenes, and they had some pretty big personalities. You know, the CBS deal, you know, was there and was in place before it really came, you know, to the media attention that's saying, oh, the Arena Football League, I feel like just has been kind of like, you know, they've been playing, they have some big personality. If you didn't know the indoor football, world the way that I'm starting to get to know it now, and the way that you know it, RJ, or the way that Coach Lynn knew it, or knows it, I should say. The Arena Football League, from that mass, that pinnacle that they were at before 2009, a lot of people probably didn't realize that the Arena Football League was still in existence. So when I say quietly, I mean they were putting out a good product, but this is a 10-year build. The two expansion teams this year in Columbus and why am I drawing a blank on the other? The Atlantic City Blackjacks, and then striking this deal with ESPN. This isn't a coincidence that they expanded and then struck a deal with ESPN. This has been a plan for them. I feel like
definitely
a while. And DraftKings too. When they announced that the Arena Football League and DraftKings had partnered up, my very first thought process was they're going to strike a TV deal sooner rather than later. Which brings up another question for me, RJ, considering Coach isn't here right tonight. Could we see the possibility, if this succeeds with ESPN and AFL, and it actually ends up being bigger or better than they were expecting it, could we possibly see something similar with maybe the Indoor Football League or the National Arena League with maybe, like the CBS All Access or the CBS Sports app, where they just stream the games through that?
I do not see it from the National Arena League. They are not at that level yet. I am sorry. I love the league. I've been watching it since day one. They still got to work some things out. I mean, I've been to some of the games. It's a great product, don't get me wrong. But I don't think they have the amount of teams where you need at the quality that you need for it to work. I know the AFL also has 6 teams, but they're above the NAL any day of the week. For the IFL, I'm kind of surprised they don't have something already. If the IFL can fix up what's going on with the Cedar Rapids River Kings and San Diego Strike Force, I absolutely believe so. But right now, those two teams are really weighing them down because it's like when you have a math problem and you're trying to find the median, if you have 2 outliers, the median is going to be a lot lower than it was beforehand. And that's what the River Kings are right now at the Strike Force, the outliers. So bring the outliers in, work those up, and I can see in around 2 years' time potentially something happening because they're going to look to expand it open this upcoming season. They're really trying to establish a West Coast presence. I really hope I see them in Portland and Spokane soon.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have the Sacramento? Was it Sacramento that they announced?
Oakland.
Or was it Oakland? That's what Oakland they announced, yeah. So they're definitely trying to get the West Coast out there. Do you think that San Diego and the River Kings issues derive from being the expansion or the jump from the CIF? Because that's where the River Kings came from, was the CIF, right?
No, new ownership group.
Oh, it's a new ownership group. Sorry. So
they might as well be an expansion team, but they're technically not.
They're technically not. Okay, I thought what was it? Quad City, right? They jumped from the
Quad City and Bismarck right? Jumped.
That's right. Okay, so all right. Strike Force is an expansion team, though, right?
That is correct.
Yes.
On the indoor football experience, Coach Lynn and I had Omar Cook on, who plays for the Strike Force, on our first episode.
Oh, that's
great
fantastic.
Guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the IFL really undercredited on the East Coast because it's funny. If you go west of Mississippi, and I'm pretty sure Coach Lynn can tell you more about this. The IFL is much more a talking point than the AFL, but when you're on the East Coast, it's vice versa. So it's different styles of football. The Indoor Football League and Arena Football League are very different because the Arena Football League is it's more derivative of the original outdoor football game that we know and love. The Indoor Football League is basically a carbon copy just on a 50-yard field. And it plays with different audiences, different mentalities of people who live there, but I'm very, very interested to see how this goes. And I really do hope the IFL strikes a deal because not that YouTube is a bad place to broadcast your games. I mean, for Pete's sake, it's a nice place. It's easy for everyone to work, but they deserve better exposure. I want the CIF to stop using Pluto TV and get to YouTube. That's the next step for them. National Arena League is going to stay on YouTube for a few more years. until they get a better presence going, and then we can talk about them jumping to network.
Yeah, I was just wondering because obviously I watch the NAL and the IFL through YouTube, and I actually enjoy those broadcasts a lot. I actually think it's done really well, and I just wanted to know your thoughts on that because I mean I know the NAL is still fairly new and stuff, but I enjoy the product, and I think that they have something there because when I watch all three different leagues, you can see the difference, and not necessarily in the quality of play, because I think the quality of play is actually really high on all three levels. I think that the differences in play style from all three leagues, I still haven't quite, me personally, hasn't still quite figured out all of the intricate details just yet, but I'm getting to that point, and I start seeing, certain things, and I'm like, okay, so this league has this league has this, and this league has this. So I think it's pretty fantastic. But I just wanted to bring it up as far as the NAL and the IFL was concerned because I think it's big news for the Arena Football League, and I think that it's good news overall for all of indoor football.
Oh, definitely. I mean, no matter what league you enjoy, you have to like when a league gets a deal because I don't care if you're a fan of one league or another. You love the sport and it's a niche sport, so you better support it. And that includes when we get a team in our market. That's why I'm gonna be at the New York Street games at the Westchester Civic Center, and I'll also be at the games they're having at MSG if you want to find me there.
That's what's up.
Alrighty. Now, Coach wasn't here, so we didn't get to see his take on it. But Michael, you actually did an amazing job with that. I enjoyed hearing you two going back and forth for a little bit. Well, I mean, in my defense, I don't know that much about the indoor or arena league. I'm still trying to catch up. I've gone through a little something this past week, so I haven't been able to watch the games. I'm back home in Texas now, so I can actually start trying to catch up on them, whether it be over on YouTube or trying to find it online. So I don't know that much. I will say that now. I don't know much about the arena or indoor, but knowing that we have all of you that know the sport and the leagues in general really show how much this show has and how many of us actually do know what we are talking about. And RJ, you and Coach the past 2 weeks, and then now you have y'all's own show on Saturdays. Y'all really show out and show what the product that the indoor and arena leagues have, and how you said you had someone on, a special guest for your first episode. That is a great milestone for your first show, and I applaud you both for that. And John, even though he likes to have his moments of personality, he really shows out and he knows what he is talking about. And I really do appreciate the work that y'all put in.
Well, we appreciate you
Thank
too.
you.
Now, something that we all talk about that started this show in particular, Alliance of American Football.
It just won't die.
It really, literally, it folded, it died, but it's still alive. It's like
a
on its last
zombie.
breath. Like, it's straight up won't leave us alone. But apparently coming out, the first investor that came in before Tom Dundon himself apparently is now in a heap of trouble. Michael, why is that?
Well, Mr. Fowler, one of the PayPal mafia, as John likes to refer to him as, investors from one of the original investors of the AAF, has apparently been brought up on several charges of bank fraud, and the list is ginormous. Anyways, he's facing up to 70 years from all of the charges that's being brought to him. Last week we discussed and talked about how Charlie Ebersol in his interview with CBS, and how he wasn't able to access certain finances, and we were all wondering, like, what was he talking about? How could he not access those, that funding and all that stuff? And
well, it's hard to access what you don't have.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And Mr. Fowler, with the charges of Mr. Fowler being brought up, it has been proven that Ebersol was actually legit in It sounds like he was actually legit when it came to not being able to access the money and the funds to get to the league to be able to make sure that it was sustainable. We discussed Dundon's $250 million that he verbally committed to the league. Dundon took a lot of heat for folding the league.
Rightfully so.
And rightfully so, but it sounds like Dundon actually now is a little more. It sounds like he's getting slightly not as much heat for doing it the way that he's done it. I still disagree with it immensely.
Same.
But it sounds like that Dundon had a reason for doing it. He just went about it the wrong way. But this is Ebersol, as far as this is Fowler's doing. Let's just be honest. The whole reason the league is no longer in existence is because of Fowler. Dundon made the decision. This is Fowler's fault.
It's Fowler's fault, but listen, here's what I'm going to say. Fowler messed it up, but Dundon decided to take this on as a project, and he took it on. It becomes his responsibility. And now, no one might excuse what Fowler did, but we can't take the focus off Dundon as well. What I am going to say about the AAF is, did anybody do any vetting for the investors?
Well, that's what I was going to get to. This is the reason why this is on Ebersol. I don't understand how you don't. Supposedly, according to what he was saying, multiple banks vetted. There was multiple contracts signed. I don't know if Fowler's just that good of a con man or what happened, but the thing with Dundon was Dundon didn't want to invest $250 million that was not going to be able to be backed up or returned. And let's face it, with Fowler's money not being accessible that they were banking on, the reason that Dundon probably invested into the league was because Fowler's money was in the bank. So, I mean, I can understand why Dundon was probably a little reluctant to continue, but if Dundon really actually cared about the game of football, then he would have continued. That was where I was going with that. Like, I don't think Dundon thought the whole. I don't think he cared about the league as much as he wanted to spin it that he did. I don't think that he cared about the league. He was way too quick to pull the plug on it. 100%.
I mean, to give it an image, it's like, okay, you're in hospice care, with whoever you're with, your phone's dying, and you're talking to a friend. You unplug life support and plug it in. You're like, oops, didn't mean to do that. That's kind of what Dundon did.
Well, fair enough.
Really and truly, knowing
that's a really good analogy.
It really is. Best.
Go ahead, Kevin.
But with Dundon doing, now that we see the way of it, the money's in the bank, right? Dundon goes in, he's thinking, oh, okay, I just have to finance for a little bit, and then we can go into the second year, and I can be the premier financial partner for this, and it could be my money, even though we already got money in there. What if Dundon saw this and looked into it himself and realized that the money was bad?
Well, why didn't he tell anybody then?
Well, that's what I don't understand is why didn't he just – if that's how he felt, but he truly cared about the league – and I know that I keep bringing this up that he invested $70 million, right off the jump, and that he saved the league after week 1. It was $20 million to finish the season. If he really cared about the league, put another $20 million in. I know that it seems like that, it's just another $20 million, but put another $20 million in, finish out the season, and then quietly go through and restructure on the backside. Buy out Fowler, get rid of Fowler, bring up him on the charges for Fowler, and realize that the guy was a con man from the jump, and then turn around and try to save this league if you really actually cared. But $250 million should have been enough for him to at least go for another year and start getting money back. But his vision was different than what Ebersol and Polian's was. So it sounds like that it was just Dundon kind of throwing a fit. It sounded like he wasn't getting his way and the league wasn't going in the direction that he wanted right now. Boo goo gaga, and he just pulled the plug. I don't think it's necessarily just about the money, Kevin. I agree that he probably looked into it and realized that Fowler's money was bad, but this I think sounds like more of like his vision for what the AAF, what he wanted the AAF to be, wasn't going to come to light. So he decided to throw a fit and pull the plug instead of trying to save it.
True, and that's why I still want the Hurricanes to lose.
For sure.
No, you don't understand. You don't understand. I think they should go 3-0, get up, and then lose 4 straight in the final, and then lose that bad. I want that.
I don't even want to make him the Stanley Cup. I want him to go into the Eastern Conference, honestly. But honestly, though, just what it comes down to is Fowler's facing 70 years. Clearly, the money was bad from his side. I don't know what these banks were vetting. I don't know what Ebersol was looking at. I mean, Ebersol is, 36 years old? He was probably trying to rub shoulders with guys that were way out of his league. He got conned into it, opened up a league, and now the Ebersol name is forever tarnished. There's no way the Ebersol name will ever be involved with another startup league again, especially after Dick Ebersol with XFL 2000 and Charlie Ebersol now with the AAF, unfortunately.
Yeah, the Ebersol name. Don't go into sports with them.
You just can't at this point in time. But yeah, Fowler 70 years. I hope he gets all 70 years. You know, he takes some of the blame for this as well, for sure. And I think that's, it's garbage. It doesn't save Dundon, in my opinion, but
oh no, not at all.
It definitely takes some of the pressure off of Dundon, though. I do have to say that, because if the AAF was bleeding money and they thought that they had money that they could replace it with that was in the bank sitting there, I could understand why Dundon was kind of like, well, guess what? So.
And I mean, it's the truth, and that's the issue with all of this, is that we're finding out new information every week and every month, and the AAF isn't going away anytime soon. I don't think the AAF goes away until XFL 2020 starts up, because that's when AAF news and articles will go down the back roads, and barely anyone will be able to see them until they go into the dark web, and they're like, ooh, this is interesting.
I wish the AAF was never going away. I really
Same.
wish that it wasn't. I wish that it would have ended up being a feeder league for both the XFL and the NFL. If you want my honest opinion, I felt like it could have played that minor league role. So we'll unfortunately have it just be a passing memory like the USFL.
Definitely. But do we have anything else we want to talk about real quick?
I don't believe there's any other news. Seattle hired a defensive coordinator for the XFL. Other than that, I don't think there's too much more. Oh, Elliott Fry, one of the kickers. He was the kicker for the Orlando Apollos. The Bears just cut 2 of their 4 kickers, and Elliott Fry has made the cut. So he's still with Chicago. So that's probably the only AAF news that I currently have.
Let's be honest. After everything with that kicker last year, especially in the playoffs, he is an upgrade.
They got blocked.
I don't know. The fans even tried kicking that.
Supposedly he got blocked. But.
Exactly. But I think other than that, I know Trace McSorley has signed his rookie deal with the Baltimore Ravens. I don't think we have had that many rookies signed, other than maybe first rounders. But
yes, I actually wanted to mention something about McSorley now that you brought it up there, Kevin.
Oh, what's going on?
So the New Orleans Saints, for the last 2 years, have had a quarterback on roster by the name of Taysom Hill at a BYU. Yes. He's kind of like a do-it-all. He does a little bit of everything. Plays receiver, running back, plays special teams. He can throw the ball. He was actually a pretty good quarterback at BYU, but he's more of an athlete. They've kind of created this position for him where he does like an X Factor type thing on offense. There was 2 quarterbacks and a undrafted free agent quarterback that was invited to camp for 3 different teams. The Baltimore Ravens with Trace McSorley from Penn State. McSorley going into the draft was actually asked to
do safety workouts.
Was possibly to play defense. And it sounds like that the Baltimore Ravens have decided to take Trace McSorley, and they're going to use him as a Taysom Hill type. They're going to have him play defense, offense, and special teams in that Taysom Hill type role. And then the San Diego Chargers, or Los Angeles Chargers, pardon me, San Diego, I'm sorry, they drafted a guy by the name of Easton Stick, who took over for Carson Wentz as the quarterback at North Dakota State.
Right.
They drafted him in the 6th round. They, too, plan on using Easton Stick as a Taysom Hill type X factor on offense. He probably won't play defense, but they're going to use him in a situation where they're going to try to move him around and use him as a weapon because they feel that he can bring something to the team positively on offense without it necessarily strictly being a 3rd string quarterback. And then Eric Dungy, the Syracuse quarterback, got invited and signed to the New York Giants camp. And Dungy came out the other day and said that he is willing to do whatever is necessary to make the roster. And if that means playing in the Taysom Hill role of special teams, offense, and defense, that he will do that. So I think it's interesting that we're seeing this, because when I was an assistant coach, or I was an assistant of an assistant coach of a high school team, when we were trying to determine the quarterback position, I don't know, Kevin, if you've had the same experience when you played, they always said take your best athlete and put him at quarterback. And we know that the NFL generally carries 3 quarterbacks on their roster, and it was kind of like a dead spot, like a wasted spot. You know, there's 53-man roster, but you use the 3rd quarterback that you hardly ever got to. Why not make it about a situation where you're taking an athlete and putting them in different positions at the NFL level? This is a good trend, I think. I think this opens up doors.
It opens up a lot of doors, just because Taysom Hill, like, even in their playoff run, it was like, even the commentators, they stated that Sean Payton wanted to get him a touchdown in the playoffs. He got a blocked punt, I think, at the end of the regular season, or maybe even the first round of the playoffs. But Taysom Hill, they've even stated that Sean Payton wants to keep him around and possibly be a franchise quarterback over Teddy Bridgewater, which, if they did that, I believe they keep Taysom. If Teddy goes somewhere else and they draft someone else, I think anytime you see Taysom Hill out on special teams or anything and not at quarterback, that's when they'll use the other guy. But Trace McSorley, I think he would be a better Taysom Hill, just because he came out of a Penn State system where he had Saquon Barkley and all these other targets like Mike Gesicki and everything. He had a more show out with his arm. So I think he would be utilized more on offense, more so as a passer than what Taysom Hill is, because even though he throws it a little bit, he more runs it. He goes out wide as a wide receiver, and sometimes even as tight end. He blocks sometimes on the offense, and then defense, he's not used that much. I think Trace McSorley would be a more versatile Taysom Hill, and then Easton Stick, and then Dungy. It's hard to say for me because I didn't really watch them that much, but I think they would be more of what Taysom Hill is be a passer when needed, go out wide as a receiver, and be a more special teams guy.
As far as your Taysom Hill, you know, I think Sean Payton talking about Taysom Hill like that is actually more of a coach speak. I think that Payton wants Teddy Bridgewater to be the future of that team if Payton sticks around. See, the thing is Bridgewater turned down an opportunity to start in Miami to return to New Orleans because of Sean Payton. The reason he didn't want to return, the reason he was on the fence about whether or not he wanted to go to Miami was because he was afraid Sean Payton was going to leave for Dallas. But it was a 1-year deal for him to return to New Orleans. It's not like it was a 3-year deal or a 4-year deal that he would have gotten with Miami. It was a 1-year deal, which tells me that Sean Payton is unsure if he wants to leave New Orleans next year and go to Dallas, because Dallas is the team that really wants Sean Payton, and Jason Garrett's not getting extended. Jerry Jones already said that there's no more extensions. He has to find out what Garrett's going to have for this year. So if the Cowboys go 7-9 or 8-8 and miss the playoffs,
he's done. Jason Garrett's
Garrett
out.
will be out, and Jerry Jones will throw the bank at Sean Payton. And
it's the truth.
And if that happens, then Bridgewater will be gone from New Orleans, and the only person that will be on roster will be Taysom Hill.
Exactly. And the
when
issue,
Payton leaves, it's going to be Drew Brees.
Yeah, and I think that the funny thing about it is the only way that Jason Garrett gets extended is if he makes it to the Super Bowl. Yeah, conference championship, divisional round. No, Jerry Jones is like, you make it to the Super Bowl or you're out. That's probably God honest truth with that.
It was, yeah, and that's probably, that's probably the biggest thing is I think Garrett will pretty much be out regardless.
Definitely. But we'll back up on this on Wednesday's episode of In the End Zone. We're giving you a sneak preview of what we'll talk about on that episode. Granted, we talked a little bit tonight, and we're not going to like reiterate it. We'll probably pick it apart a little bit on Wednesday, but keep an eye out and check out In the End Zone Wednesday nights. That's going to do it for all of us on AFN Live for you. I've been Kevin Drake and Michael Washington Weeks.